Here's a brutal truth. The more available you are, the faster she forgets you. Because modern women don't fall for men who worship them from the start. They fall for the ones who challenge them emotionally. The ones who subtly shift the balance of power. And if you're sick of being the guy she likes but never obsesses over, you're about to learn why. This video reveals 7 psychological switches that trigger desire, emotional tension, and mental addiction. Not surface-level tricks, but real patterns that make her chase, even when she doesn't want to. Stay until the end. Because once you see how deep this goes, you'll never approach women the same way again. If you've ever felt like being emotionally available actually made you forgettable, you're in the right place. Smash that subscribe button and type yes below if you've been there. No shame, just clarity. Sharing your experience helps others shake off the invisible chains. Now buckle up. I'm revealing 7 psychological triggers that make her see you in a way she can't ignore. You ready? Let's go. Number 1. The mind before the mirror. Most men screw this up in the first 30 seconds. They meet a beautiful woman, and boom, first thing out of their mouth is, "Wow, you're stunning." Or worse, "You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen." Do you know what that sounds like to her? Elevator music. She's heard it 1,000 times before breakfast. You're not flattering her. You're joining the noise. You're becoming part of the background hum that follows her everywhere. Here's the cold truth. Complimenting her looks is the fastest way to become invisible. Not because she hates it, not because she's arrogant, but because it does nothing to distinguish you. You're feeding the same part of her ego that every other guy has fed. That part's already obese. It doesn't need more attention. If you want to hook her, don't feed her ego. Feed her identity. That means seeing what most men never even notice. Her mind, her thought process, her opinions, her insight. If she makes a sharp observation about a book, a business idea, or even an offhand comment about relationships, you look her dead in the eyes and say, "You know what? Most people completely miss that, but you didn't. That tells me something." Boom, that's the shot, right there. Not at her face, at her depth. You've just interrupted her script. Because here's the secret psychology most men don't understand. Women crave to be seen, not admired. They're sick of being objectified. But being recognized for something no one else sees? That's intoxicating. You want to live in her mind rent-free? Be the guy who praises the part of her no one claps for. That part she hides behind filters and tight dresses, her intellect, her opinions, her worldview. Because once she feels you see her beyond the surface, she starts to wonder, what else can he see that others missed? That curiosity? That's your foot in the door to her emotional core. That's where obsession is born, not with the guy who drools, but with the one who looks right past the gloss and says, "I see something rare here." And here's the punchline. Once you've established that depth, then, and only then, can you drop a casual, "By the way, you're also beautiful." And now it lands like thunder. Because it's not coming from a place of need. It's coming from power. So if you're still leading with flattery about her face, congrats, you're in the same pile as every guy she forgot last week. But if you start with her mind, you become unforgettable. Number 2, the magnetic pullback. Here's where most men crash and burn, right after things finally start going well. She starts texting more, laughing harder, leaning in emotionally. And what do? You take that as your green light to go all in. More attention, more compliments, more availability. You think, "She's into me, time to lock it in." Wrong move. What you just did was flip the power dynamic in her favor. And trust me, that's not when obsession happens. That's when her curiosity dies. Because what's fully available is never fully valued. Let me drop something on you. Emotional tension is what creates obsession, not comfort, not consistency, not your undivided attention. It's that moment where she wants more, and you don't give it. Not because you're playing games, but because you're composed. Because you're a man who isn't rushing just because she blinked in your direction. I'm not telling you to ghost her. I'm telling you to create space. A little delay in your replies, a slight pause in your availability, a subtle shift in energy that makes her go, wait, did I lose his attention? That micro moment of uncertainty? That's gold. That's where her mind starts spinning. Did I say something wrong? Why is he pulling back now? Why do I suddenly care so much? Congratulations, you're in her head. Because here's the reality no one teaches men. Women don't obsess over men who are always available. They obsess over the ones who create just enough space to stir their emotions. Why? Because women are emotional athletes. They feel everything. And when you give them room to feel confused, challenged, uncertain, that's when they engage. That's when they lean in, not out. Most men fear that gap. They think if they don't respond instantly, she'll lose interest. But a high-value woman isn't looking for a lapdog. She's looking for a man who doesn't flinch. Let me be clear. Pulling back isn't punishment. It's not cold. It's not cruel. It's discipline. You're not reacting to her pace. You're setting your own. And that changes everything. Because now, every time you show up again, your energy hits harder. Your words land deeper. Your affection becomes a reward, not an expectation. And here's the ironic twist. When you're willing to pull back, she starts chasing harder. Not because she's insecure, but because you've awakened her desire to earn you. That's the magic of controlled tension. So the next time things start heating up, don't rush to pour gasoline. Let the fire breathe, create emotional oxygen, and watch her obsession grow in the silence between your next message. Number 3, predictable is forgettable. Let me tell you something that'll sting a bit. If she can predict you, she's already losing interest. Most men confuse reliability with attraction. They think being consistent means always texting good morning, always replying right away, always being that stable guy who never changes the vibe. Sounds sweet, right? Wrong. It's a recipe for emotional numbness. Here's the brutal truth. If she can predict every move, every text, every tone, she stops feeling anything at all. Because the female mind craves stimulation. Not just the flowers and dinner kind. I'm talking emotional variety, mystery, tension, surprise. And when you become a daily rerun of the same episode, you go from, I can't stop thinking about him, to, he's just nice. Let that sink in. The fix? Be unpredictable, but anchored. Not chaotic, not unstable, but emotionally varied in a way that keeps her guessing just enough to stay hooked. Think micro pivots. If you always text her at night, skip a day. If you always compliment her mind, one day tease her playfully instead. If you're always grounded and serious, flip the energy, throw in some humor, mystery, even a bit of controlled aloofness. You're not being inconsistent in character, you're being dynamic in delivery. Let me paint the picture. You've been emotionally present, engaging, deep. Then suddenly one night you go quiet. No drama, no explanation, just silence. She's going to feel it, hard, because it's contrast that creates emotional depth. Now the next time you do engage, it feels like a wave. She's alert, engaged, hungry, or maybe one day you show up with a different tone, more playful, unpredictable, flirtatious. She laughs, but also wonders, what's gotten into him? That's the sweet spot. She's not just hearing you, she's studying you. And that is when obsession starts to bloom. Because here's the psychological edge. The brain is wired to fixate on what it can't fully understand. It fills in the blanks. It builds stories. It wonders. And the moment she starts building stories about you in her head, you've already won. But be careful. This isn't about being erratic or distant. It's about balancing consistency in who you are, with variability in how you show up. The moment she thinks she has you all figured out, you lose your edge. But when you keep revealing new layers, without ever losing your center, that's when she's hooked. So don't be her routine. Be her emotional plot twist. Let her feel safe in your energy, but curious about your next move. Because the man she can read like a book, she closes and forgets. But the one who makes her turn every page with anticipation, she reads again and again and again. Number 4, the hidden competition. Let's cut the fluff. Women are not above competition. They just hide it better. She might say she doesn't care about what other women think. She might act unfazed when she sees you surrounded by attention. But deep down, there's a primal instinct kicking in, and it's screaming, "I need to win." You want her obsessed? Trigger that instinct, not through jealousy games or fake flirting, but by becoming the man who is visibly desired without ever trying. Here's the kicker. Most guys destroy this dynamic the second they get the girl. They drop all their edges. They stop being social. They act like her. Yes means they can now quit the game. You know what that does? It tells her, no one else wants this man. So, why do I? You don't need to flirt with other women. You don't need to make her jealous on purpose. What you need is presence. Social proof without the show. Be the man who naturally attracts attention. Laugh with the waitress. Be charismatic at the party. Hold your frame in a room full of energy. Not because you're trying to spark envy, but because that's just who you are. And she'll notice. Oh, she'll notice. Her eyes will scan the room. Her mind will race. Wait, did that woman just look at him? Why did she laugh that hard? Why does he seem so comfortable around them? She won't say it out loud. She won't need to, because what's happening inside her is a storm. Here's the psychology. Women don't want to feel replaceable, and nothing activates that fear faster than seeing you could be wanted by someone else. That's when she shifts. She leans in more. She texts faster. She starts competing, not with them, but with the idea of losing you. And don't mistake this for manipulation. It's biology, it's status, it's human nature. The difference is how you do it. If you rub other women in her face, you look desperate. If you boast about who wants you, you look insecure. But if you live like someone with options, value, presence, you become magnetic. That's why the guy who's always available, always praising her, always acting like he's already won, gets taken for granted. But the man who lives with quiet confidence, who carries the aura of being in demand, he triggers something ancient in her mind. If I don't hold on tight, someone else will. And that thought, it haunts her in the best way. Let her feel that hidden pressure. Let her compete without knowing she's competing. And suddenly, she's not just interested, she's invested. So stop being the man who makes her feel like she has no rivals. Be the one who reminds her, without a word, that you're not a prize to be claimed. You're a force to be earned. Number 5, the contrast effect. Let me tell you something most men never grasp. The fastest way to become invisible to a woman is to always be present. Yeah, I said it. Your constant attention, it doesn't make her feel loved. It makes you predictable. And predictable is boring. You think you're being a good guy. You think texting her every morning, replying in 10 seconds, always being available is what keeps her interested. But in her mind, you're becoming background noise, safe, soft, forgettable. Here's the truth. Women don't fall in love with constancy. They fall in love with contrast. It's not about playing games. It's about creating rhythm, emotional depth, because emotion doesn't grow in the light. It grows in the shadows. Give her a real moment of connection. Look her in the eyes. Be fully present. Say something that hits. Then, disappear. Go live your life. Let her wonder. Let her miss the energy she just felt. Let her sit with the echo of your presence. And no, I'm not saying ghost her. I'm saying you create space. Strategic silence, not out of fear, but out of power. This is where most men screw up. They think if they stop texting, she'll forget them. They fear silence like it's death. But the right kind of silence is seductive. When she feels the loss of your attention, right after she tasted its depth, she starts craving it. Her mind replays what you said. Her body remembers your tone. And her heart? It starts wondering, why did he pull back? Did I say something? Is he losing interest? Was that moment even real? And boom, now you're in her head. This emotional loop, attention, connection, withdrawal, is what builds obsession. It's the up and down that keeps her emotionally invested. Because flat lines don't stir the heart. They only mark the end. Here's a field-tested way to apply this. Let's say you had a powerful conversation with her at night. You connected, laughed. She opened up. She's expecting the next morning to be full of good morning texts. Don't send one. Not yet. Let her wake up and wonder why you haven't. Let her mind fill the silence. Let her chase the presents she thought she already had. Then, later, show up again, not as a routine, but as a presence, strong, unbothered, in control. Because here's the final punch. What's always available is rarely appreciated, but what disappears after impact becomes unforgettable. Don't be the man who's always there. Be the one whose absence means something. Number 6, pattern breaker. Let me ask you something. How many times have you felt like she was reading from a script? She flirts. She withdraws. She tests you. Same emotional moves, different names. But they all come from the same place, patterns. Women live in emotional patterns. Scripts they've rehearsed 100 times before you showed up. They know how men usually respond. They know the rhythm, and they expect you to dance to it. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you pause, smile, and take the scene somewhere she didn't expect? I'll tell you what happens. You break her mind's autopilot. Suddenly, she's not sure how to categorize you. And that confusion, that's where obsession begins. You don't have to be loud. You don't need to be dominant or aggressive. You just need to be different in the moments that matter. Here's an example. She posts a thirst trap selfie. She's used to men flooding the comments. What do? You don't engage. You don't double tap. Instead, next time you talk to her, you compliment something unexpected, like the fact she remembered a small detail from your last conversation. She's stunned. That wasn't in the script. Or maybe she throws out a backhanded comment to test you. Most guys would defend themselves, over-explain, or try to win back her approval. Not you. You smile. Say, "That was cute. Trying to see if I'll chase?" Then change the subject. Boom. Pattern broken. You're not rattled. You're not reactive. You see through her moves, and you choose not to play along. That makes her feel something she rarely feels, emotionally disarmed. Because suddenly, she's not in control. You didn't follow the path. You're not just another guy in the scene. You're the one rewriting the script. This isn't about rejecting her. It's about redirecting her, softly. You're not trying to humble her. You're showing her something better. That emotional power games don't work on you. That you respond with depth, not desperation. And here's the beauty. When you break a woman's pattern gently, you don't make her defensive. You make her curious. Why didn't he react? Why didn't that work on him? What's going on in his head? Now she's not just interacting, she's investigating. That shift, from comfort to curiosity, is magnetic. Let's be clear. This isn't about being emotionally distant. It's about being emotionally anchored. You're not here to fight her. You're not here to please her. You're here to lead the energy. And that leadership, it's what pulls her in deeper than any compliment or text ever could. So next time she tests you, don't flinch. Smile. Pivot. Let her feel the shift. Because when you break the rhythm, you become the melody she can't stop humming. Number 7, unshakable energy. Let me make this crystal clear. If she can rattle your emotions, she owns your power. And the moment you make her the thermostat for your feelings, you've already lost. Most men, they get high when she's warm. They spiral when she's cold. They ride her emotional roller coaster like it's the only way to matter. That's not attraction. That's addiction. And women can sniff it from a mile away. But a man with unshakable energy? That's a different breed. He doesn't get flustered when she delays her reply. He doesn't panic when she pulls away for a day. He doesn't react because he's rooted. And that rootedness, it drives women insane. Not because he's ignoring her, not because he's playing hard to get, but because she can't control him. Understand this, the female brain is wired to test emotional stability, not always consciously, but it happens. She pokes, she prods, she plays little emotional chess games to see, will you break? Most men fold. They over-explain, they double-text, they rush to fix the vibe. But the man who doesn't flinch, the man who doesn't chase clarity because he already has it from within, he becomes unforgettable. She starts thinking, why isn't he reacting? Did I lose him? Why does his silence feel so loud? Because your stillness isn't emptiness, it's sovereignty. And that's what she craves more than love, more than attention. She craves a man who cannot be swayed by her storms. Here's how you build that. Step 1. Pause before you react. Whether it's a flirty jab or an emotional bait, wait. Let silence be your first response. Stillness is your filter. It protects your frame. Step 2. Stop making her approval your fuel. She compliments you? Cool. She criticizes you? Cool. You stay the same. Your worth isn't on the auction block every time she speaks. Step 3. Root your emotional state in something larger than her. Your mission, your discipline, your inner code. Because once you're emotionally sourced from within, you're not swayed by outside validation. You don't react just to ease tension. You move when you choose. This is what I call emotional sovereignty. And once a woman feels it, she knows she's not dealing with a boy. She's face to face with a man whose energy can't be bought, swayed, or shaken. And trust me, that kind of energy, it haunts her. It lingers long after the texts stop. It echoes louder than any sweet word. Because deep down, every woman is drawn to the man who can't be emotionally pulled like a puppet. So no matter what game she plays, stay centered. No matter what compliment she gives or withdraws, stay unmoved. Because when you stay emotionally untouchable, she'll fight for what she once thought she controlled. And that, my friend, is when obsession begins. You've made it to the end. And if you've absorbed even a fraction of what I just shared, then you already know this isn't about tricking women into obsession. It's about becoming the kind of man whose presence rewires a woman's psychology. Not because you chase, not because you please, but because you stand where most men fold. Let me remind you of something brutal yet liberating. Women don't fall for the guy who gives them everything on a silver platter. They fall for the one they can't quite predict, can't fully reach, can't stop thinking about. Because obsession doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in tension, in contrast, in emotional gravity. You're not here to be another chapter in her story. You're here to become the plot twist she never saw coming. That starts when you stop proving your worth to women who never earned your depth, and start becoming a man who makes her prove herself. Remember, power isn't something you perform. It's something you embody. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to stop being emotionally cheap. Every pause you hold, every pattern you break, every time you remain calm when chaos tempts you to fold, it builds something inside her that logic can't explain. You become the man her instincts can't dismiss. And that is where obsession is born. So if even one of these 7 shifts opened your eyes, subscribe right now. Because what's coming next? It'll change how you see women forever. And if you're done being the one chasing, type it in the comments. I don't chase, I attract. My energy leads. Because from this moment on, you're not reacting to women. You're commanding their attention. And the game, it just changed.